Pumpkins Ranch for more public displays of homestead. And I'm trying to show you, but the shadows are harsh. I have 17 rabbits hopping, exercising at once here in the rabbit garden. So there are 6 of these guys. It's starting to become, apex sunshine. But I've got these 6 roaming at large in the main rabbit garden. So someone asked, how do I keep the rabbits off of my vegetables? It's because they have their own garden. Meanwhile, while these 6 are out loose inside the playpen, I have a litter of 10 with their mama. So that makes 17 rabbits hopping, which is always great. All right. Well, the topic of today is going to be a garden stream here on the off-grid homestead. The garden is starting to really go off. And I have a full tote here at the rabbit garden barnyard area, but my yard garden tote is empty at the moment. We are using 330 gallons of water that we haul per day right now. So I'm here to show you the main vegetable garden. And it could be a Q&A or just, a chat session. How you doing? Where are you watching from? Any questions about permaculture? Off-grid? How to live when you have to water haul in the high desert? That's what it's about. So yesterday I did give a small watering to this garlic field, and it's bordered by some volunteer alfalfa. Welcome to new viewers that have just arrived. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jean Marie, and I'm from 1 Million Pumpkins Ranch. We've been here on the homestead for 4 years, and we're just starting our warm season for 26. So I'm glad to see you all here. Love to hear from you in the chat. I'm watching because I know my friend Steve, he has very generously offered drip irrigation. I have not figured out a plan for how to make that happen. He's right that would save me a lot of time during the growing season. But for now, it avails me an opportunity to chat with y'all. So as you can see, this garlic has a lot of grass growing along with it. I try to keep the furrow itself, the root zone, clear. It's time for another pass through. This little spot I'm watering has some wild grass and a desert marigold starting to come up in it. I planted tree seeds. None of them have shown themselves. My culinary sage is rocking it. Some of these garlics I did go through and harvest the scapes, but they're starting to have new scapes on the later blooming ones, like there. So scapes are wonderful sauteed or made into a pesto. And I will be coming back and adding more water to this garlic patch as time goes on, keeping the video moving. A perennial onion. This thing, it just keeps making beautiful allium flowers for me that bring joy to my heart. So today, one of my chores is going to be to clear this half of a furrow. It's got half garlic, and then it's got half, it used to have salad. Now it's mostly, it's kind of overgrown. But I'm going to be clearing that out and popping in some chili pepper starts. This area is quite overcome with the bindweed. So that's another goal of mine, is to clean up this fence facing furrow. I like the way the bindweed makes beautiful tiny morning glory flowers. So I don't hate the bindweed. It just starts to really choke up the root zone and whatnot. So as you can see here, I've freed my lemon thyme from the bindweed. Here there's work yet to be done. Some of the wild plants I really allow and nurture, like right there is a globe mallow, and that's going to make beautiful orange creamsicle flowers, kind of like a miniature hollyhock. Carrying on here, beautiful wild morning glory bindweed surrounding the lemon thyme. So we are off-grid on 40 acres of land in northern Arizona. And if you look out there, you can see we don't really have any neighbors. We are 6 miles from the New Mexico state line. And now you can see that we have a trellis here with raspberries. You can hear my turkeys in the background. So hello, hello. I'm so glad that you're here with me out here in the lonesome Southwest. I am trying to change my point of view on my phone. There it goes. I have a new phone and the touch screen is not quite as responsive as my previous phone. Although in all other respects I really prefer my new phone. And on the aisle outside of the one I'm watering, that's another target area for me today. It currently only, as far as I know, it only has this oregano bush and a bunch of rampant spearmint. The rest are weeds. Even though I did plant currant seeds and pomegranate seeds, haven't seen any sign of those. And as I tug on, see, my hose is wrapped around. This is a winter fat bush. It's a native goosefoot variety. It's supposed to be a good animal feed, but my animals don't like it. In permaculture, there's a lot of emphasis on the edge. So you can see along the edge, the outer edge of my garden, I've piled up manure. Meanwhile, the poultry, the chickens and turkeys, they burrow down in there. So it's always, waxing and waning. Now we've gotten to almost to the part of this furrow where I've started to plug in my chili pepper transplants. So together we'll check up on those. They're looking kind of rough. They were looking kind of rough when I plugged them in. I have about 25 more plants to plug in. So that's why I'm trying to figure out which furrows I'm going to target today. We have temps. My dog is chasing the cat. It's just the nature of the beast. All right, so this one's watering a fairly decent pepper. And then next to it is my mature artichoke. This guy's given us 5 small artichokes so far, and it's already got multiple new babies on it. Some more pepper starts. So the monsoon forecast from the National Weather Service says we're going to have a pretty hot summer, but we may have an El Nino monsoon season. So crossing my fingers and sending prayers to the Most High to be kind to us during this homesteading season. How to drought-proof your high desert garden. Well, the best method I've found so far is to use deep mulch. So that's what you're seeing here. Lots of deep mulch, living pathways. And I like to deliver the water directly to the root zone, so I stay contained within a furrow. Larger garden beds are awesome. I'm not against them. I find that they're harder to target the individual plant root zone than one single plant width. And then the roots also have room to spread across the living pathway, which is also mulched. The mulching both cools the soil because the light color of that yellowed grass, but it also creates just a barrier for to prevent evaporation. And it also creates a place for the soil life. And here is a volunteer sunflower and a closer view of a globe mallow. That's a beautiful native species with orange flowers. And here we go with some more peppers. They're pretty yellow. They came out of their, solo cup later than is optimal. I think they're just going to take root and thrive, though, as time goes by. And the next part of this furrow is the Jerusalem artichoke patch. We bought a Jerusalem artichoke pack from the grocery store for like $6. And I think this is the 3rd year for it. We've never harvested the tubers from it yet. People say it's really hardy and stuff, and it is winter hardy. We're zone 6B. It's proven to be winter hardy for us. But as for summer hardy, you can already see it's kind of doing transvaporation already. It's a little limp. I find that I have to water it more often than most of the plants in my garden. But anything that survives the winter, I'm gonna put some work in. And up next, let's go inside. I've already got my lettuce harvesting implements here. So yesterday, I harvested 3 pounds of lettuce from this patch. See how it looks after the harvest. So you take away the outside leaves. There was a lot. It was so crowded. See how it's crowded? In the crowded areas, there were a lot of bad leaves. So it really wants to have more airflow. Anyways, that was all I harvested in order to get 3 pounds. I did not even touch this area. And off to the side are mammoth sunflowers. Yeah, I didn't even touch this. And interplanted, there are more chili peppers. This one, I pulled some of the lettuce plants out so it could have some more sunshine. This one's doing pretty well. There's one over here in my shadow, and another one there, and another one there. There were more, but I came in here and I saw night beetles eating them. I don't know what kind of beetles they are. They came at night. They're mid-sized, blackish, brownish beetles, and they were just cutting my peppers off. But I think I might come in here and plant some squash. And this is where I have 2 honey locusts. I am inexperienced with starting trees from seeds, so I'm really thrilled to see some success. I've planted a lot more, but any success with tree seeds, that's ace as far as I'm concerned. Welcome to 1 Million Pumpkins Ranch, to the new viewers. Thanks for joining us. And we are doing a tour of my off-grid water hauling, homestead, permaculture situation here. So we are gravity feeding from a tote like that, but over at the end of my barnyard. And we've built this homestead from scratch. This was raw wilderness when we came out here. We've got 40 acres and we have no neighbors. Not any neighbors close. Just doing some watering and some garden chores and chatting with you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And so many people, when they come to the high desert, they like to create a fortress for their plants, and I can respect that. I mean, you got to do something. Everything wants to come here and eat your plants. Last year in particular, we had high bird pressure. There was a more severe drought, and this year is even more severe perhaps. But anyways, the birds came from far and wide, from miles around. This is like the only patch of green land. So they ate like so many of my little baby seedlings. So it goes. So it's always good to overplant, oversow. As you can see, there's a thickness of planting here. Any pests that come, they're welcome to the hyperabundance. And this is a new basin planting system. So this got double dug. That means we dug down about 2 feet deep, and then we layered in organic material like a hugelkultur or a lasagna bed. However, it was buried. So instead of being piled on top of the soil profile in the desert, it behooves us to put our organic material below the soil profile, and that also creates a water catchment. So this basin is quite deep, and it has an even deeper tree hole with a watering tube, and it has a water collection system with 2 French drains and a berm that's going to guide water coming in from the driveway. So while we do not have rain gutter type of collection yet, we are doing small hand dug earthworks to fulfill the water harvesting part of permaculture in the desert. Pardon me. Whoa. Sorry to make you dizzy. Yeah, the lettuce, a lot of people, think that lettuce needs to be babied or under shade or hydroponic. I gotta make this pepper stand up. It's a weakling. Yeah, I'm finding that as you build your soil and use mulch, you need less and less of that man-made infrastructure to make it happen. Okay, so there's another pepper plant down in there and one there. And we've got these two, one locust and one locust there. Honey locust trees. So, as always, thanks for coming in to check out my off-grid homestead. Appreciate you. I've been posting a series of shorts of my garden tour. That's a bite-sized piece of what I'm trying to accomplish here. But I thought today might be a good day for more of a long form video where I can be available if you guys have questions or just want to say hello. So I always welcome you to pop into the chat and say hi. Tell me where you are. What brings you to this channel? Are you a gardener? Are you off-grid? How do you feel about permaculture instead of other forms of gardening? Well, this earthwork is still bare because I just wanted to see how it performed before I go and cover it up with mulch. But that will be happening as the summer goes on. It's rocked in on the one side, and then it's going to form a cascade of water collecting dimulins. I want to make them in a fish scale pattern as prescribed. We're still working on getting rid of, well, I should say harvesting all of this gravel, and that's kind of come to a standstill for the moment. my lettuce collecting tub. All right. Well, actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and turn off the water for a minute. And that means I'm going to take it off the fence because I really do not enjoy a kinked garden hose. That is a pet peeve of mine. You can hear that we have turkeys. Here's Helen, the poet, stuffing her gullet. And here we go. Gotta turn that off. All right, so I'm gonna just do kind of a walkthrough of the garden with you before I really roll up my sleeves and get to work. It's funny I say roll up my sleeves, but I'm wearing a UV protective shirt. Gotta roll down your sleeves for UV 12. Okay, so let's start. Whoops, I'm tripping over it. Anyways, get the garden hose off the fence. It is a kink-proof garden hose. And guess what? Spoiler alert, those are worse for getting kinks than regular garden hoses because once the kink is in it, can't get it out. Okay, so we got this elm tree when it was only the size of my hand. And now this elm tree is like 4 feet tall. Glad to see it. Yep. I've got just one leg of onions growing here, and I've got artichokes over there. I showed you the new chilies, and I've got tomatillos on this leg. Now this is how the mallows look when they're in bloom. So pretty. Yeah, that's one of my favorite wildflowers. And this is today's goal, is to get all these in the ground. There's, I think, 25 of them in there. And in my herb walkthrough, I showed you the fennel is perennialized, and I've got some desert marigolds cropping up in there. This was kind of a volunteer wildflower bed. This furrow I have hydrated and I have chopped, but I have not yet cleared it for planting. So that's again a targeted area for today's work, getting those peppers in the ground. This was also in the herbal short. It's cilantro going to seed and parsley going to seed. And that's how you get free seeds, folks. That's how you put the permanent in permaculture. And here's some ryegrass. That's great animal feed. So when I chop that, I feed that usually to the rabbits. Leeks going to seed. More free seeds, folks. And pink Swiss chard, also going to seed. Now here we have Roma tomatoes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in this row, with 2 lettuces. And next to them, we've got some gourmet garlic here. I cannot remember the variety, but it's a hard-necked variety that has only like 4 to 6 cloves, 4 to 6 jumbo cloves. Now you can see that the first pair of leaves has died down, and that I've already harvested the scapes. Oh my gosh, garlic scapes. You gotta try them. So these will be ready in about a month, and then we'll have to look into curing them and preserving them for the year. Here's the first row of tomatoes that I planted out this year, and this is my favorite variety to grow up here in the high desert. This is Gardener's Delight, and they're from seeds I saved from the crop of 2024. They're already blooming. I looked at a video from last year, and I had only just planted out these tiny little sad starts. So this year, I really expect to have prank tomatoes to hide, to prank everyone that I know. If I could explain to you the smell out here from the parsley and cilantro in bloom, and they're already covered with hoverflies and pollinators. Magical. Right, so this Gardener's Delight row is pretty much in full flower, and it's flanked by wildflowers and overwintered oregano, a random triticale, ryegrass, wildflowers, mint, and tomatoes, and overseen by this beautiful rabbit brush. That thing is monumental. When you do chop and drop with the rabbit brush, it smells evergreen. It has a beautiful pine scent. Here's the companion row to the row of garlic I just showed you. Same deal with it. I side dressed both of those with sheep beans. Here I have a stash of rabbit barn cleaning, and that's what I use for the fluffy mulch. So now I'm starting to forget which are which. They're either Gardener's Delight or else they're Roma tomatoes. I can't remember. I think these are the Romas. The ones with the trellises are definitely Gardener's Delights. I cannot be more excited with how tall they are. and how they're already in bloom. Yo, this is amazing. Never lose hope when you're going off grid and learning to garden and plant stuff in the ground. You know, the soil's not as bad as you're told. You can you can amend the soil by top dressing. You don't have to buy a lot of expensive stuff. It's a dual purpose thing for our farm. Also, the hay comes with seeds sometimes, like this ryegrass came with some organic local hay. And now we have ryegrass for days to feed the rabbits and the other animals. And now we're coming into the main onion patch. It looks like a hot mess. Yes, it does. And it is. It is a hot mess because look how much grass, how much grass and weeds are in there. But then when you come down close, you can tell that I've been grooming it carefully. There's not very much choking roots in the furrow itself. There are helper plants on the edge of the furrow. And when I chop those, they send a growth pulse of growth hormone into the soil and they ranch the microorganisms. Now here's another bonus native. This is a salt bush that I have basically topiaried. I've treated it as a hedge plant and it's time to do it again. I really kind of want to get a hedge clipper for this. A battery hedge clipping shear. Because if I go ahead and shape this salt bush, all the tips are great animal fodder. And I kind of want to make it look like a cat because this is cat camp. My garden is cat camp. This is where my cats hang out, free from the dog. And they catch vermin that attacks my garden. Yes, sadly they do damage to wild bird populations. But I also feed and attract wild bird populations and help sustain them. So it's kind of a trade-off. So walking down, you can see more wildflowers, bindweed that I need to clear up, more globe mallows and rabbit brush. And here's a beautiful volunteer from hay. It's alfalfa and it's in full bloom. So that's going to attract many pollinators. It's going to condition the soil with its nitrogen fixing nodules. And it's also animal feed. And because it's in bloom, it's giving me free seed for more. Here's the view of the back corner, the southeast corner. And I have a triple wide onion strip here because I'm trying to grow enough onions for the whole year. There's always losses, so you got to accommodate for that. Anyways, I've got about 500 onions all told. The Zypets, I planted some perennials and tree seeds, and nothing really came of that yet. I've got voluntary wild plants and also generations of sweet clover from the first year when we planted sweet clover as a cover crop. There's my back corner elm tree. That was also only about 4 inches tall and thinner than my pinky. It was just a tiny stick. Excuse me. And now, I don't know, it's like 2.5 feet tall. I think that'll create a lovely pool of shade here in the back corner. Look at that skyscape. It's free of animal poop. It's free of airplane poop for the moment. And we have a possible thunder shower coming this afternoon. Praying that we get rain always. Now here's another strip that I can plug in the remainder of my peppers and tomato starts, and there's a long-suffering oregano and this globe mallow. Look, the first bloom. Globe mallow is a relative of hibiscus and okra. So it is showing me that it's the prime season to grow okra. I have not yet seeded my garden with okra. I have 2 packs, 2 varieties. Did great in 24 with okra, 25 not so much. Let's see how it goes this year, right? Yep. And there's a little companion planting area for me to plug something else in. Say in the chat what you think I should put in there. This was part of my most recent garden tour. There's a tomatillo and a currant. And I think I'm going to put my Cherokee tomato right in the back, in the, the place of honor. I have a tickle in my throat. Let me mute this. Pardon me. Okay, so this back row is the one that got another honey locust tree seedling and 2 currants, but the rest was a wash. Then there's a middle row that needs to be cultivated, and the potato row. Now these came from Azure Standard Organic Russets that I chitted up, and I have a whole other bag left that, man, I hope it's still okay. It's still in the cupboard. But I'm hoping to go ahead and plant the rest of those in these 2 rows. And more sweet clover and perennialized onions and wild plants like this needle and thread grass. I like to enter the county fair, and they actually have divisions for you to enter grasses like needle and thread grass. If I get an epic cluster of one of these grasses, or here's Galita grass, for example. If I get, one worth entering, I'm going to enter that in the fair. Might as well, right? Anyways, the potatoes are doing great, and Steve asked, do I pull straw over them? Yes, I'm constantly bringing in rabbit litter and other mulch, and I will be kind of hilling those up by pulling mulch over. Right now they have the raised seed bed and the 2 irrigation channels on either side, all inside of the furrow, which is my MO. That's my, I'm calling it strip tilling because I have a wide pathway that is untilled between the tilled area, and then there is a formed seed bed within a floodplain. So it's all, a 1-unit modular system for water delivery. And here, once again, is a fallow zypit. Here is ryegrass that needs to be harvested to free up, send a growth pulse to the onions. Lots of native plants like this native brassica called spectacle plant. Native grasses. I believe the tiny white daisies, they might be a fleabane variety. I'm not sure. And then these, they're not dandelions, but they make these giant dandelion puffs. And they make Feed Me Seymour, Little Shop of Horrors, giant dandelion flowers. They're kind of awesome. And because I enjoy them, I allowed them to make many more around in the garden. Check out that. That sweet clover bush. That's Gigantor. Look at it. It's covered with pollinators. Little tiny native bees. That's how you know you have a healthy ecosystem, is it's buzzing. Look at all the little flowers that blow. That's a zypit. I will be chopping that. I'll feed it to the animals, and I will be planting something in this zypit. Haven't decided what yet. Probably pumpkins. If you're listening, Omega, I'm probably going to stick pumpkins in there. Yep. Now here is a problem plant. That right there is foxtail grass. It's gone pretty far. I'm going to have to yank that out by the roots and burn it or send it to the landfill because that will harm the animals. That's the kind of plant that sticks its pointy end and causes abscesses. And so there's more here. So I do have maintenance to do alongside planting new crops. As we walk along here, the butterflies are starting to go off. More volunteer alfalfa in bloom. Such a cheerful, glorious plant, covered with pollinators, covered with predatory insects that will keep down the pest pressure. Now over here, this square used to be a horse corral, and then we put the raspberry arbor along it, and we aligned it so that the west wind will hit the side of it. And that way inside, when it's, more of an arbor, then there will be shelter underneath its tunnel. And it's planted out with Magnolia snap peas. These are, I'm going to say, 3 generations of my own propagation. And I planted them in succession. So this side is the first planting. And those are almost touching. Yes, they're starting to touch the 3rd rung of the cattle panel. So when they're about 3 feet tall, those are going to start making snap peas. And they have beautiful purple flowers. They make both purple and green snap peas. And underneath there are carrots. I'm shocked to see that the carrots survived. They're finger-long carrots. And then also, I plugged in a couple peppers. Now this brassica is an unknown brassica planted back in August of last year, but the way it's developing makes me think it's probably a Savoy cabbage. And get it, it has pests. You see that? It has pests on there. Now what will I do about those? I don't know. I'm going to start with rinsing them off and putting soapy water, some Dawn dish liquid. Here's one of the red raspberries, and look, its first bloom is starting. And it expanded from its root base quite a bit over winter. And down its row on the inside. Now, as time goes on, this inside part of the arbor will be shaded, hopefully. But anyways, more snap peas and some purple cayenne peppers, as well as 2 different types of carrots. Putting on their true leaves. And on my right, this is a different variety of red raspberry, and it is blooming. Don't know if you can tell. Terrible photography, sorry. And at its base, snap peas with radishes and peppers, and there's pepper, there's some basil, Swiss chard, Thai basil and celery, basil and spinach coming up. And the grass, I chop it and I lay it down as mulch and manure, green manure. And the last to be planted here, just the same, more snap peas. These mammoth sunflowers had chlorosis at the get-go, but it looks like one of them's improving. And then I went ahead and plugged in basil and peppers amongst the radishes. Yep, I already had to pick off flowers off of the Thai basil. It looks like I need to do that again. Yep, and the raspberries in bloom. Yesterday I brought 3 pounds of lettuce to the quilting ladies, and some of them were whole heads because they've made these beautiful rosettes, and they're kind of crowding the garlics. So I went ahead and I just uprooted several whole head rosettes and donated them to my friends in the quilting group. So I'm loving how the permaculture garden is incorporating wild volunteers, hay volunteers, naturalized herbs and plant seeds. I love how it's in full bloom with noxious weeds like bindweed and with animal fodder like alfalfa. And I hope that this video gives you hope that you can also grow in the ground in the high desert without shade cloth, without anything but enough hardware cloth or chicken wire to keep your own animals controlled. The barn cats control the vermin. The Great Pyrenees controls the predators. And the herbivores feed us and we feed them. And together we're one big happy family under God's beautiful blue sky. Cheers and blessings. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. God bless.